Welcome to Cinema-Savants, your home for all your movie and TV news, with Todd Vandenberg, Lee Vowell, and Rob Steele. And coming up in this week's show, the death of a legend, the possible death of a series, and the return of the Police Academy series, which of course is a sign of the apocalypse, which means we're all going to die. But first, I'd like to remind you to like the show on Facebook and, of course, subscribe on iTunes and Google Play or even YouTube while we still exist. We're just going to go right into the sad stuff.
Yeah. Get
that out of the way. I don't know anyone who was not surprised by the news we got on, I think it was Thursday, that Burt-Reynolds died.
Yeah,
I had not even heard that. Ooh, he's got a cold. I didn't even hear that part. Which is sad because he was actually a really good actor.
He was. He doesn't get as much. Some people give him credit for it, but I mean, typical people think of him as, obviously everything's been Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run, and that's been what most of the talk has been about, and the fact that he was like one of the all-time great guests on late night TV. That is something of distinction because that's entertainment, and he was hilariously entertaining on late night TV. I mean, he was just fantastic on that. Told excellent stories. Was a great sport. Shaved off half his mustache on one episode. Cut Johnny Carson's tie off. A lot of crazy stuff went on with Burt-Reynolds, but he was an excellent actor. And we were just talking in pre-pro that by choice, he liked to do a lot of these light, fun, entertaining films because he sure is
fun to do.
Exactly. They seem to be a heck of a lot of fun doing those shows. And just from everything you ever hear about the guy, that was him. The fun-loving, happy, nice guy. Because he lived in Jupiter, which I am all of about 20 miles from Jupiter. He lived in Jupiter, Florida for decades. And basically, he's one of the biggest reasons Jupiter is it's not that as well known as like Palm Beach, but it is another one of these enclaves that is a lot of wealthy people live in that area. And a lot of it's due to Burt-Reynolds was one of the first ones there doing that and has a great reputation in the community. But I always go back to the movie Deliverance. Fantastic movie. He is absolutely awesome in that film. If you haven't seen Deliverance, and it's not an easy movie to watch for a lot of reasons.
There is that.
But if you haven't seen Deliverance, and if you think that Burt-Reynolds was just the guy cracking jokes on late night TV or driving a Trans Am around, you need to watch Deliverance, and then you can see how damn fine an actor this guy was, because he was really something else. And he just didn't get that much of a chance to show it. But man, he's great in that movie.
I didn't see anything of his that I didn't like him in. Even if it was one of those movies where I go, I don't really care for this movie, but Burt-Reynolds was good.
And he did a lot of movies like Sharky's Machine and Malone, just hard-boiled kind of cop things, and they weren't great movies, but they were good movies, and they were definitely elevated by him because he absolutely sold those movies. So, yeah, I agree. Anything he's in, because I don't really care that much for like the Cannonball Run movies. I mean, those things are just goofy as heck. Although but they're supposed to be, and he makes them much more fun.
It threw me off that Jackie Chan was in those.
That was a little weird.
I mean, at the time, we're just like, oh, it's martial arts guy, and we don't know who Jackie Chan is. And all of a sudden, now we go back and go, holy crap, is that Jackie Chan?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, I did, and I'm tying it back. I did that with Burt-Reynolds about a year ago, watching all the Perry Mason episodes. I came across he was a very young Burt-Reynolds in a 1960 episode of Perry Mason, pre-mustache, which is why it took me half the episode to go, I recognize the face, but not all of it. Something's missing. And then, click, that's Burt-Reynolds. Dude, Burt-Reynolds is on Perry Mason. That's cool.
There's one more little bit of sadness, as if his passing isn't sad enough, but he was going to be in the next Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He did not get a chance to film his scenes, so he is not going to be in that film, which is sad because practically everybody in Hollywood is going to be in that movie. But he was a quite excellent football player, in college. Injuries kept him from having any kind of a pro career, but I mean, he was a heck of a football player. Florida State is where he matriculated, and they are wearing decals on their helmets in honor of Burt-Reynolds this weekend.
Are they mustaches?
That would be pretty cool, but they're not mustaches. But I mean, that's just really, really cool that they're honoring Burt-Reynolds, because I mean, in a way, he did have the movie just out, right? The Last Movie Star,
right?
And in a lot of ways, he was like the last movie star. He's not from the era of when we think of movie stars, the 40s, 50s, but he kind of had that persona anyway.
He would have fit in
kind of
back
bigger
then
than life.
if he was.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So, and a lot of times it's like, so we don't know these people, and you get kind of emotionally attached, and then it's like, well, why do you feel that way? But he's just seemed like such a genuinely nice, fun person. And like you said, if he was in a movie, you knew he's going to be entertaining. The movie itself might stink, but it's going to be worth watching because he's going to entertain you all, or he's going to do his damn best to do so.
Right. So something like that's going to come up on the review show later this week, but it has nothing to do with Burt-Reynolds. Just foreshadowing or something like that. Kind of like a Predator movie. No, not in the slightest. That's just an attempt at a segue. The Me Too movement struck again this week, and I think this is kind of a weird one to me. The Shane Black's version of the Predator, which is coming out, is it out? It's coming out soon. I know it got screened and stuff. Doesn't matter. There was a scene,
next weekend.
I was thinking so. 47-year-old actor Steven Wilder Striegel or something like that. Had a very brief scene where he flirted with Olivia Munn, but somehow she found out that he's a registered sex offender who served 6 months in jail in 2010 for allegedly attempting to lure a 14-year-old female into a relationship over the internet.
Yeah.
And they found that out, so they cut him. I don't know the details of it, but he served his time. He did go to jail. He came out of it and has been a better person since then.
So, to the best of my knowledge, that is correct.
Yeah. As far as we know. And actually, he was even kind of cool about this. He said, well, once they found out, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, cut me from the movie. And if I'm honest, I'm fairly certain he still got paid anyway. So
pretty sure you get paid when you're making it. So, yeah.
Cutting him probably didn't really do much for as any kind of a punishment or anything. I'm thinking. Just saw that and thought it was weird.
It is kind of an odd story, and apparently he's been in some other films for Shane Black, and I don't know which films, but I just saw that blurb. It was like, and he mentioned other things that he's been in. Doesn't change my opinion of what this movie's going to be. I think this movie's going to be outrageously fun. Totally looking forward to it. But the Me Too thing just keeps on swelling and mushrooming further and further out. And sometimes, like you said, he's a convicted
sex offender.
But also, he served his time. That's the whole point of justice. If you served your time, well, at some point you're supposed to be able to move on with your career. And it's not like he was in scenes with a 10-year-old actress.
Right.
So it's...
And even then, to me, the luring over the internet thing, it didn't say that he knew it was a 14-year-old.
Well, I think that if he got convicted, I'm assuming that he probably did, because otherwise he had a terrible ass lawyer. So I'm going to assume he was guilty of this. I mean, the fact that he served time.
Was. They could have phrased this in any of these articles a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But like you said, he served his time. That's the point of justice and of serving time. Once your sentence is fulfilled, how long does your sentence to society continue? It just seems to be kind of, at what point are we going to, I mean, this happened in 2010.
Right.
So it's kind of, and obviously we're not saying, oh, sex offenders, they're great folks. No, not really.
No.
But at some point, he wasn't sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah.
And if he's not allowed to work in his chosen profession, that makes it kind of difficult. So certainly not siding with someone who is a sex offender, but at the same time, what is the point of having
rehabilitation?
Exactly. It's like you don't have much of a justice system if you don't allow the other side of justice to work as well.
So we need to stop imposing these kind of things on these people. Oh, and speaking of imposing stuff, see, I'm master segueing.
Pretty sweet.
Netflix and Amazon have run into a bit of an issue with the European Union. The EU is imposing quotas on some of these streaming services in Europe. It's not you only get to stream this much of it. It's not imposing anything on the actual viewers. It's telling Netflix and Amazon and whoever else is over there that they have to dedicate at least 30% of their on-demand catalogs to local content. So, if you live in Germany and you get Netflix and you want to watch your whatever in Netflix, you get 30% of your on-demand catalog is now going to be German, which I guess I kind of get that.
I kind of get it, but as we've said on the show before, if you haven't just browsed through Netflix lately, or Hulu, or Amazon, the big players in streaming, there is a lot of foreign language content coming up. A lot. I mean, I think that's awesome. I'm not complaining at all, but this kind of seems like this is almost the reverse of that. It's like, okay, well, we need at least. I can kind of see that because I can kind of see that. Okay, but it's going to be pretty damn complicated, isn't it? In the European when you've got to have,
everything in the European Union is complicated.
Right. This has got to have 30% German. Oh, now we're in Italy. Like, it has to be 30% Italian. And obviously with software, it's like you can certainly set that up that way. But it just seems a little bit crazy to require this content of a service provider. You must provide at least 30% of the content in the native language of the country in which you're being carried. It's like, just seems like that would be an opportunity for another company to start their own German language streaming service. And my God, I certainly think there would be some.
Netflix thought.
There you go. It's just one of these things. It's like, well, you have to do this. It's like,
Hulustein.
Really? Because I would imagine that there's a lot of German content.
Amazonberg.
On Netflix in Germany or Italian on Amazon Prime. It just seems kind of strange that
I just brought up Germany.
This.
It goes through all the countries. I'm biased toward Germany because I lived there for a while, and it's very pretty.
It is very pretty, and they have wonderful wine.
Absolutely.
As does really pretty much any country over there. But anyway.
Well, yeah, we digress. But I mean, that's something we can see in the future if we live in Europe, which, at the moment we don't. Give me time. I'm trying to go back. Anyway, other things we need to be seeing, or not necessarily need to be seeing anyway, has to do with Chris Pine, because he may or may not still be in Star Trek 4, which means we may or may not be seeing him there. But if you want to see more of Chris Pine, watch the movie Outlaw King, where he appears for a good 15 seconds, full frontal nudity. Chris Pine. You will get to see more of Chris Pine than than I ever wanted to see anyway. My wife, maybe not. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
He's the quote that I heard about this. Where did I put it? Wrote it down. Here we go. Quote from Chris Pine. What I find very funny is there's so much beheading in Outlaw King, and yet people want to talk about my penis. It's not the violence in the movie. It's the, look, Chris Pine he's got a tree. Is that just weird? Let's go back to Germany for a minute. That wasn't a thing there. I mean, there were full frontal sex scenes on TV after 10 o'clock at night.
Indeed.
Which threw me off because the first thing I saw was a full-on frontal conjugated condom commercial. Wow, really? You just walked into the room and TV was on. What the hell is this? Oh, hello. buy the condoms. They are good for you. Oh, well, okay. Because everywhere else, it's not a big deal.
Right. It's just here. It's our Puritan heritage.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
Just what we need. Puritans, because we don't want any of that strange witchcraft magical stuff. We're Americans, because the only kind of witchcraft magical stuff I'm surprised Doctor Strange did as well as it did.
Or Harry Potter.
Harry Potter was a global thing. Doctor Strange, born and bred American, played by a British man. Go figure. Anyway, speaking of Doctor Strange and the British guy, Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be getting a bit of a raise from his last movie, where he apparently made $5.4 million. Can I have a loan, please? For Doctor Strange 1. And now he's supposed to be getting 9.6 for Doctor Strange 2, which is rumored to begin shooting in the spring, which means it's going to be taking the place of the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which may or may not exist anymore because people like Dave Bautista have gone on record repeatedly as saying the whole James Gunn thing is a bunch of crap, and I don't want to work for Disney anymore if that's the way they feel. And several other cast members have popped up with the same thing, including, and this one threw me off because I forgot she was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
Popped up this week and went, what the hell are you doing? Which...
I was not surprised that she popped up and said, I'm surprised that it took this long for her to pop up and say something.
I think what she said was, I just heard about it. I haven't been paying attention.
And I was wondering, it's like, I wonder if she's been busy elsewhere in her home, and so this is why she has heard about it. The odd thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, and now to the general film audience, they don't realize that that's not the original group, and that there is no such thing as a regular roster of the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're constantly changing it out. They are changing it again in the comics as we speak, practically, really? with another whole new roster. And the rumor is that Galactus may be one of the Guardians, which would be kind of weird.
No.
I believe Juggernaut, though, will be one of the Guardians. That's interesting. Although it might not really be Juggernaut. It might be someone else who now is Juggernaut. You know how comic books are. They're pretty crazy and trippy and weird. But so this happens constantly in the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. But hardly anybody knew about the comics when this movie hit, which would made the success of the movie that amazing.
Astounding.
Because, yeah, I mean, Iron Man's success was a surprise because Iron Man was like a secondary character. And Marvel kept on hitting, they kept on rolling double sixes all the way through, no matter what characters. And then when they did it with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like, okay, you got to be kidding me.
Which was just weird because the book for Guardians of the Galaxy, with the lineup that everyone seems to know now, didn't exist until, maybe 3 months before the movie came out, which means they were making the movie before the book came out.
Right. They made the book tailored to the movie. Exactly what they did. So, yeah, it's pretty strange how this became such, if you watch the movie, it's not strange why it's a success, because it's an awesome, fun movie. That's why. Well, yeah. But the fact that they were able to take these characters nobody knew a damn thing about and make them stars,
and
the
change
characters,
a lot of them.
And change a lot of them, exactly. But it'll be interesting to see if they can move forward and change the lineup of the Guardians in the movies when the vast majority of the audience doesn't know any of their members, even though it's set up that there were other members before in the films.
Right. But
that's not what they're used to. So I'd be curious to see if they accept that with all the other changes that's going to be going on, because it looks like we may have some iconic figures in Marvel that won't be iconic figures anymore after the Infinity War follow-up. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Drax is no longer a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which would be sad.
It would be very sad because he was awesome. He was so good in that. That was to me, that was the biggest surprise, is that Dave Bautista could legitimately act, because he couldn't even cut promos that well. That's honestly.
He couldn't as a wrestler. No, not so much.
Not so much. He was okay, but it was the intensity and the look and everything else. Oh my gosh, yeah, much worse. I'm not saying he was bad, but he wasn't great in the ring. Unlike The Rock, anyone who's ever seen Dwayne Johnson The Rock wrestle and especially cut a promo, it's not too surprising that he's one of the most bankable movie stars because the guy has
Chris
always
Jericho
had
isn't
that.
at this point.
He's still wrestling. That's what I don't get. It's like,
Well, that too.
Dude, what are you doing? Be in a movie. Because, he's got... Exactly. I cannot figure out why he's not made it. I mean, at least do a follow-up to Where They Live. Take the old Roddy
Piper?
Roddy Piper part. Oh, my God, Jericho would be great in that. I would love to see that. Chris Jericho and the old Roddy Piper part for Where They Live, a follow-up.
You can team him up with Samuel L. Jackson.
Why not? And DH him.
Well, I mean, he's being DH'd in the upcoming Captain Marvel movie. We pretty much know he's going to be in the sequel to the Avengers, whatever
Right.
Avengers 4 is going to be called. And apparently he's also going to be in the next Spider-Man movie. Hint, hint, Spidey's not staying dead.
Unless...
Spoiler? No.
Unless it's a prequel, because there are a lot of rumors that this is actually a prequel.
It's not a prequel.
Which would be kind of weird. That'd be really cheating.
It would be, but
You never know. They might.
There's a bunch of rumors floating around that we know that Vulture is going to be in it, and we know Mysterio is going to be in it as the villains. Apparently, Chameleon, Hydra Man, and Molten Man may also make appearances.
Yeah.
For those of you who thought there were too many villains in Spider-Man 3 the first time around.
I hope that the other guys are just like behind bars somewhere and they just kind of wave as the other villains go by, because let's not turn this into the meeting of the Sinister Six, except it's the low rent version. We don't need that.
No, we don't. Although something that Marvel did want to do, and I haven't quite figured this part out yet. They're doing some reshoots and additional shoots and everything for the next Avengers movie. Fine, I get that. Now, when they finished the Infinity War movie, Black Panther had not been out in theater yet. And they're really happy it became a hit because a lot of Avengers took place in Wakanda, where the Black Panther movie is from. Fine. So now that they know Black Panther is big, they're going back in Avengers 4 and adding even more Wakanda than we saw in 3. And I thought, didn't half of the third one take place in Wakanda?
Sure seemed that way.
I mean, how much more can you... I'm not knocking Black Panther or Wakanda in any way. I'm just saying, how much more can you add?
You know what? Actually, I think maybe a quarter of it took place there, which is still a lot.
Yeah.
But, interesting.
None of it took place on the West Coast. I'm sure they feel slighted.
Poor West Coast Avengers. Half of them are dead anyway.
Or the Great Lakes Avengers.
Half of them are dead anyway.
That's true.
Well, maybe not. Wouldn't that be trippy? It's like all of the Avengers get wiped out except for the Great Lakes Avengers.
Except for the Great Lakes Avengers. Yes, that would go over.
The world is over as we know it.
Let's see. Only piece of DC comic news I got this week is they cast the Chief in Doom Patrol.
I like it.
And it's going to be Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
Which I like that.
I like that a lot. That's very, very cool.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and say this.
Go ahead and say
Timothy Dalton is probably my second favorite Bond.
Oh, there you go. You've said it.
Some people are not going to agree with that, but
Timothy Dalton is a very popular Bond. I will say that. He's not my second most favorite because that's Daniel Craig for me. But yeah, there have been far worse Roger Moore Bonds than Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton was very good. He was very good, and he
was very Sean Connery to me.
He's very good in other things also. He's excellent. Really like Timothy Dalton. So I mean, I think they nailed it with that. I didn't care at all about the DC streaming service. It was like, I don't really care about watching any of this stuff until they said Doom Patrol. The good thing for me, though, is I don't have to start watching it until 2019 because that's when Doom Patrol launches.
That is correct. I mean, they're not even being introduced until 5 episodes into the Titans, which doesn't start until next month. So we've got time.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we've also got time until the next Child's Play movie comes out, which, if you remember, and if you don't know Child's Play, it's the Chucky movies, which they should have just called them that.
Yeah, now you know what we're talking about. You might have recognized Child's Play, but Chucky, you totally get, because he's coaching the NFL again.
Oh, jeez. You'll notice Lee isn't here because he's off playing with the Seahawks. Anyway, something about needing a linebacker, and he was short enough.
He filled in.
So anyway, the original Child's Play had a supernatural aspect in that it was a serial killer that died and possessed the doll, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to remember this. It's been a while.
Brad Dourif did the voice, and Brad Dourif is
right.
Awesome actor, especially if you need a crazy serial killer type.
Absolutely. Only this time, there is not going to be a supernatural aspect to the movie. They're doing a weird sci-fi take where the doll is hackable. So someone hacked it to become the psycho doll thing that haunts people in the movie.
I wonder what the purpose of that was, because, I mean, The Nun is a prequel to The Conjuring, and Conjuring, I think, I don't know how many Conjuring and Conjuring spin-off films there are. I think we're up to like 6 or 7 now. Horror and supernatural horror is like really hitting big now. So I kind of wonder, okay, why are we going with a sci-fi twist? Was that? I mean, obviously they kind of want to change things up to make it fresh, but is that really necessary? That just seems kind of like, why?
I don't know. I don't work for them.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I just kind of like, I don't really.
I mean, it's an interesting take, and I can.
Yeah.
It saves the trouble on the supernatural stuff. I suppose it could possibly make it more realistic, which, no.
Not really.
I'm not going to buy that.
No.
But,
yeah, I'm pretty sure, because there have been some excellent horror films with little tiny dolls wreaking havoc and murdering people.
Right.
Going, well, way back, even in the 30s. But the one that really stands out is Trilogy of Terror for me, that Karen Black was in it, and there was this little voodoo doll which was possessed by this demon, and the thing is all of about 6 inches high and just absolutely, he's like a demonic little slashing dude. And it's very intense. It's very gripping. I'm not going to spoil the ending of that one, but it's like, he's 6 inches tall. Handle it, okay? I mean, that being said, that is an awesome episode, and that's the one episode of Trilogy Terror that's definitely worth watching. It's like, that's creepy as all get out. Anyway,
speaking of series, there needs to be a better Siri.
There you go.
Who's the assistant on Apple or something like that. Carl Urban came out this week. Let me rephrase that. Carl Urban announced this week.
Yes.
I'm being silly. Bear with me. Carl Urban said this week that Judge Dredd is not entirely dead. And while there is not any production date or anything for the next movie, which is allegedly called Judge Dredd Mega City 1, I know nothing about that. But anyway, he said, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing a TV series, Netflix, Hulu. What do you think about that? What do you think? If Carl Urban does it, I would love it.
I would love it. Dredd is Judge Dredd is kind of like, the movie's okay. You know, back in the day with Stallone, it's just too silly. I mean, Sandra Bullock is fun in it, but Dredd is an excellent movie, and that just got completely overlooked. And Urban is fantastic in it, and the fact that Urban had the guts. And I don't know if it was Urban's idea or the director's, but Urban totally agreed with it. You never see his face. He's wearing the helmet the entire time. The whole time. And there was a lot of talk when they first did Iron Man, because there was a lot of talk. I was like, okay, how are you going to show this star that we have in this movie when he's wearing a helmet the whole time? And of course, he doesn't, because you see Tony Stark a lot. But they still kind of cheated, and they went with the interior shot when he's wearing the helmet and you still see his face. They didn't do that with Dredd. You never see the guy's face. And I'm not saying Urban is as big a star as RDJ, although Robert Downey Jr. was not quite nearly at the level of star power then, before Iron Man came out, as he is now, because that thing just like launched him into stratosphere, which is appropriate because he's Iron Man. But Dredd is such a good movie. And Netflix obviously isn't shy about spending money. I think they spent $60 million making Bright. I would rather see it on the big screen, but I don't care. I just want to see it because he was so good. And the way everything about that movie was absolutely nailed that character, nailed that time. I don't know why they're calling it Judge Dredd. Just, Dredd again. Just something, just play with it a little bit. Just a little bit late. Just
as long as he doesn't go to Holland to take care of their Dyke issue and call it Dreadlocks. That would not work as well.
My sound's working. You made it really... Anyway. Yes, we want to see Carl Urban, and we want to see him play Dredd. And one thing, he just does not get enough credit, because we talked about Star Trek. Man, he absolutely nailed McCoy. Absolutely.
We probably could have phrased that better, because he came out earlier in this.
He came out, and now he nailed McCoy. Yeah. But to just inhabit that character and that performance the way he did, you just don't see it that often. I mean, God, he was so good in that. Yes. Which goes back to, and then we'll get to the next step, but I mean, it reminds me of the one flaw. To me, there's only one flaw in Thor Ragnarok, is the fact that Carl Urban was dreadfully underused.
Yeah. Because
they could have done so much with that character, and especially with Carl Urban playing it. So that was the disappointment to me. So that knocked it down from, like, on a scale of 1 to 10 to like 9.8 or whatever. I mean, it's just a minor quibble. But Urban's great. Urban is absolutely great. I'd love to see him play Dredd again.
Speaking of cops on a big screen, boy, are we going 180 degrees on this. Steve Guttenberg, who hasn't been seen since, 1492, tweeted, because apparently if Trump can tweet, so can Guttenberg.
There you go.
That they're working on another Police Academy movie. And this one, they may be going for an R rating.
Okay. I guess they're going for the hangover crowd.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just, no, don't go there.
Well, Bubba Smith can't be in it, so
that's true.
There's no need to watch it.
Michael Winslow.
Yeah, well, there you go.
No relation to Kellen. I'm very disappointed.
I bet he's not.
Going to end the show with this one, because guess what? I don't get it. Mattel, maker of a bajillion toys all over the planet, is launching a film division. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But the promo poster they put out for it shows that they could be making films for Barbie. Okay, I get that. Hot Wheels. You know what? I even get that. That's fine. Yep. He-Man. They've been talking about it for years. And Uno, the card game.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were pushing it with Battleship. How the hell would you make a movie out of Uno?
Well, all I can say is they did make a movie out of emojis.
Are you sure? I'm fairly certain that any memory of that I have erased from my head, so it never really happened, did it?
Sadly, it did. Happily, though, I've never made it all the way through it, thank God, because I'm still alive. But if you can make a movie out of emojis, yeah, you can probably go do one on Uno. I have no idea how or why. But, I mean, Hasbro has a film division, so why not Mattel?
So why not Mattel?
Yeah.
That's just weird. Anyway, that's a good note to end the show on. I'd like you to come back on Friday to listen to the Cinema Savants review show. Don't forget to check out the FWAT show on Tuesday, which is coming. I don't know what's going to be on it yet because it's not Tuesday. And who knows, Lee may show up again to do his Seahawk show and then fly off on Thursday. And programming note. Elle is going to be doing a witching hour soon, but we don't have a date yet. It's on its way. Just be patient. In the meantime, listen to the show on Friday, or listen to this show again, or pass the show around, or something like that. You know what? We'll see you on Friday.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but, it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
Darn, that's the end.